Mr. Speaker, my colleagues, I've been listening to the discussion and the debate, and I've been here a while, as many of you have, and I'll tell you the truth, I can hardly believe my ears. I've seen a lot, and I've heard a lot on this floor, and I thought I have seen and heard everything. But this goes beyond the pale today. You and I were elected, we were hired, we were given the honor of this job to be a public servant, a state representative in the New York State Assembly. We weren't hired by the governor. We weren't hired by a faceless bureaucrat. We were hired by the most important people in this representative democracy, the voters, the taxpayers of New York State, the 19.5 million people of New York State. They expect us to be representatives. That's the job. They expect us to read the bills, not be a bunch of Nancy Pelosi's, get it passed, you'll find out what it is later on. Not be nice girls and boys like the governor wants and sit in your seat, keep your mouth shut, pass the budget, and talk about it and maybe find out about it later. And to suggest, and this is what goes down the pale, that as a state representative, I'm expected to read the newspapers to know what's in the budget bills that I'm going to be reacting to as the individual, as a part of this group, as the legislature, to be a check and balance on each other, majority and minority, and the governor. Mr. Farrell, you want me to read the newspapers to find out what's in this 10, 11 budget bills? That's beyond the pale. To suggest that to be serious about that. I've got to read the Times-Union, the Gazette, the Post, my local news, to find out what are in these budget bills. You talked about these tablets on our desk here. We worked hard to get those done. It was the right thing to do. It's not easy to change the Constitution. It's important to get it right if you touch the Constitution, because our founding fathers were wise. They did the right thing. They didn't know we'd have tablets and websites and computers and things of that nature, but they were wise enough to say, as a representative, your bills should be on your desk for 3 days, and you should read the bills, and you can't represent unless you read the bills, and you're a part of that wonderful checks and balances of the separate branches of government. And you allow the fourth estate to be kind of that fourth check, to be able to understand what's taking place also, and to listen and see the debate and see the discussion. Well, how do you debate it if you can't read it? If you can't pass on to your professionals, we have some questions. Can you help us with that? Go do the research, come back and answer. They don't have time to do the research. We don't have time to really read the bills when you give us a message of necessity. And you know exactly what these messages of necessity have become. They've become a message of political expediency. Obviously, you as the majorities and the governor don't want us to read the bills. You don't want us to understand the intricacies of the legislation you're putting forward. You want us to support $154 billion being spent of taxpayers' money on a promise and a prayer. That's not what a public servant does. They also said, we need emergency legislation sometime. Yeah, we do need messages of necessity. You know what they're for? An emergency. 3 months of an opportunity to do a budget, and people say, well, it's better to get a good late budget than an on-time budget. That's no guarantee whenever you're going to get a budget, whether it's on time or late, it's going to be better or better than what we've got right now. It could be even worse if we don't open up the shades as we open up the curtains, because that's what you've done. You've done some window dressing here. You've told me to read the newspaper so I know what's in this bill that we're debating right now. I read the newspapers, okay? And if I believe everything that's in the newspapers, I'm in as much trouble as you are trying to keep the system the way it is right now. Totally inappropriate. My colleagues, your constituents, your bosses who sent you here, want you to know what's in every single bill that we vote on today. They want it in this tablet. It hasn't changed. It's made us more efficient. It's saved us millions of dollars a year because you don't see that paper spread over the place. Mother Nature is smiling now. We're not throwing tons of ink-filled paper into landfills. That was all well and good. It doesn't mean it shouldn't be in this tablet for 3 days so I can read it out of it, understand it, and debate it, and be a real representative. If you want to be a real representative and stop the temptation, this is not truth in spending. This is darkness in spending. We don't know where the monies go because we don't know the end result. So, my colleagues, if you want to change the way we do business, if you don't want people, you could say it's a good day here now. Nobody's left in handcuffs. We don't want that to continue anymore. We want to change the process. We don't want to allow the temptations to be there. Hidden sources of slush funds of money in budgets where people can game the system. If you're going to change that, we should all be able to read it. So like the federal prosecutor says, if we see something, we can say something. It's very hard to see something when there's no verbiage and there are no bills to read until 20 minutes before we're supposed to come to this floor and do the bidding of the taxpayers we represent. So, Mr. Speaker, my colleagues, it's extremely disappointing. I think it's disappointing to the people you represent. And if this is the way we're going to continue to do business, it's a sorry state of affairs for our representative democracy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.